Good morning. The first thing we're going to look at is lesson 6, 15, and 16, the motorcycle. The first thing that you need to do is look at what it's asking you to do. It showed you how to make the motorcycle move up the screen when the left button was pressed. Your job is to then make the right one. The way to do that is to simply just copy and paste this code, change it to right button, and add to the Y speed, because when we're going this way on the screen, we're subtracting from the Y value because it's going towards 0. When we go down, it's adding to the Y, so that's why it's Y plus speed. When you run it, it should work. And then, now it tells you to add your own elements. It says to add a slider in design mode. So you need to go over to design mode and grab a slider. Name it something that makes sense, like slider speed. And give it a minimum and maximum value that makes sense. So 0 and 100 is a little high. I might do maybe minimum value of 1 and a maximum of 15, maybe 25. I mean, that's pretty fast. Maybe just 15. And we'll have it step once. And then I'm going to, because I'm picky, put in a label that says label slider speed, and text is going to be speed. Then I'm going to go over to my code and I'm going to create an event that will change the speed whenever the slider is moved. This is a user interface event. So on event, put a there's no comments, otherwise I'd put it in here. So we want to say on event, when the slider speed is changed, then we're going to do the same thing we did at the top. So we're going to say the bar speed is set here. We're going to do first I'm going to take the user input immediately. I'm going to do speed get slider speed and value, and then whenever that slider speed is changed, I'm going to it gives me this var here, which is not what I want. This is kind of making me a little bit frustrated. I wouldn't do it this way. So what it wants me to do is do another var for the speed and set the speed when it's changed. I don't want to do the same speed in here. I'm going to go into the text and say speed equals, I'm just going to put 0 for right now and then show blocks, and I'm going to say speed equals, and I'm going to repeat this get property, get slider speed value. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Circuit Playground at home to test this, but you should test it and see if that is working for you right now. to move on to, I'll just hit run. It isn't going to do anything. I'll say this. I'm going to say finish. I didn't get any errors when I ran it, so that's cool. That means it's probably good. So we're going to talk about analog input. The input in the last one was not analog. Analog is any continuously changing signal, so it doesn't have a set of values that it has to follow. Digital has zeros and ones, pretty much is all that it has, ons and offs. So we're going to be looking at a couple different kinds of analog sensors that we're going to use that are on the circuit playground. So if you run this experiment and try interacting with your board, you might be able to figure out what each of those sensors is and what they do. I want you to talk to your partner and talk about what the sensor does, what its maximum value seems to be, and what its minimum value seems to be. You should have figured out that there were 3 different sensors on there. One measures light, one measures temperature, and the other measures sound. The light sensor, to test that one properly, if you do have your phone on you, if you turn the flashlight on your phone, you can get a good reading that way. If you go back to the past lesson and hold it over where it has the little eyeball right here, and otherwise cover it with your hand, you should see the 2 different versions of, or the 2 different levels of the readings for the numbers on that. Temperature sensor is a little bit harder for us to get a good reading on in the classroom. It should be around 77 or 76 degrees is usually about what it is in the classroom. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 67. Whatever. It always stays pretty much the same. And then the sound sensor, if you talk into it, or please don't yell, though, because there's other classrooms around us, but talk loud into it or whisper into it, you should be able to recover it so it can't hear any sound. See the different values that way as well. The sound sensor and the light sensor have values that they take in between 0 and 1023. So 0 is going to be no light and no sound, and 1023 is going to be brightest light and loudest sound that it can read. The sensitivity of the sensors is variable depending on a lot of different circumstances, so you all might get a little bit different readings from the same thing, and that's fine. So the first thing it's going to have you do is look at using the sound sensor and reading that sound sensor data. So the app already has a text label with the ID sound value, and you're going to use the sound sensor.value block to display the value of the sound sensor. It shows you exactly what you need to do. So you do a set property, and you want to set the sound value text to whatever not text, sorry. Yeah, text, because we want the text thing. And go to the circuit, because we're going to be grabbing from this sound sensor value and plop it in there. When you run it, it should give you the value of the sensor for sound in the room at that time. You can try making louder and softer sounds. It will change with those, obviously. 5 is light sensor, and light sensor is a little bit easier for us to get a good reading on because it's an easy one for us to measure in the classroom. You can easily cup your hand over your circuit playground to make the light very low, or like I said, use the flashlight on your phone, or even holding your circuit playground up to the screen or your monitor should make it a little bit brighter. So this one says to use an event handler to update the text of the light value using the light sensor value. So what you want to do is say whenever someone clicks on the update button, you want to set the light value text to your light sensor value. So just like we did on the last one, but in this one we're using the light sensor value instead of the sound sensor. 6 has you making a thermometer app. This one's pretty easy. In design, what you should be doing is making more of a, I would consider it more of like a digital thermometer where it's going to tell you the value from the ambient air around it. So I would first say button, take temp, and I would say get temperature, because I'd want to be able to make that a little bit more dynamic and be able to keep getting temperature values. And then I would put in a label and label this, label temp F for Fahrenheit, and say F for Fahrenheit, and I would move it over a little bit and make the text bigger, maybe 36. That looks good. And then I'm just going to duplicate that and make it a Celsius for this one. So label Celsius and change that F to a C. Then you're going to need 2 labels to hold the actual sensor reading value that you get. So I'm going to actually just pull one out, and this is going to be, instead of label, I'm just going to say temp reading F for Fahrenheit, and I'm going to have nothing in the text for right now, but I'm going to, or maybe I'll just put it at 0. That might work too. And I'm going to set that to that same 36. Actually, maybe I'll do 48 and make it nice and big. There we go. And then I'm going to duplicate that one right here, and I'm going to call this one temp reading C for Celsius, and pull that one down here. So that's just me laying out my screen. So let's go into the code, and what you're going to do is say on event button take temperature is clicked. You want to have 2 set properties, and you're going to set the temp rating Fahrenheit text to temp sensor Fahrenheit, and you're going to do the same thing here but with Celsius. So you're going to do temp reading C text and temp reading Celsius. So now when you run this, and again I don't have a Circuit Playground at home right now so I can't, but if you run it and press the get temperature, it should set the text for both the Fahrenheit and the Celsius reading for whatever the temperature is in the classroom right now. Seven has you making a prediction. You can do that on your own. And I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with these for today, where you should probably be just about out of time. We will go through the rest on a Monday to make sure that you understood them. These are a little bit longer lessons because they are so new for all of you. Please don't hesitate to come in or ask for a pass at Norski time if you're feeling a little lost. I know I wasn't here, and I apologize for that, but between my pneumonia and my son being sick, it's just, I had to stay home. So, all right, I miss you guys. I will see you either at Norski time in the hallways or on Monday. Have a great weekend.